Okay, new filter element to resist offer a resistance of about 0.3 to 0.5 bar. However, if the filtering element is clogged or blocked due to your wear debris, the blocking pressure will may raise up to 2 bar. Okay, so this is about cartridge type of oil filter, and I want everyone to draw this diagram now in your notebook. I will give you 2 minutes for that because these are very important diagrams. Cartridge type oil filter. I'm giving you 2 minutes. Draw the diagram. Then we will see the animation of this oil filter, how it is working. It will be more clear. Once you completed drawing the figure, you write in the chat box completed, sir. Then I will move ahead. And once again, I want to remind you all that if still anybody is left who is not on joined that Canvas class, so for those students, join the classes because all the study material assignment, everything will be uploaded through that Canvas only. That is official channel now. So if you are missing, it is not like previous system, that physical class system, you can say some excuses. Here everything is recorded that you are submitting on this date, this time. So automatically it will be late marked. Whether the diagram is completed? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
I hope you people are drawing this figure. If not, I have to give it as an assignment once again to upload the complete notes of this chapter. Okay. So honestly, you people draw the figure.
Completed, sir.
Okay. Now I'll try to show you one video of this. So that it will give you some clear picture about its working. Yes, is this visible to all of you?
Yes, sir.
Audio was also coming?
Audio is not.
Yes? Audio is coming or not?
No, sir. Okay, sir.
is that filtering element that I was talking about? The filtering element. From the periphery region, you can see the water oil is coming inside with some impurities in it, and how it is filtering out over there. Yeah. So this cross-sectional diagram you have seen in a 2D representation or a schematic representation. You can see here the oil was coming from this side and it is moving in this direction, and then it was going to the metal matrix, and finally it was going back to your oil galleries. So this is a case study you can you have seen here for Vicks oil filter. Some companies there. So how this Carteret type of filter is working, I hope it is clear to you. Now the second type we will see, coming back to our slides. After Carteret, we have edge type or stack oil filter. As the name is suggesting, here we have a number of discs, okay, connected on some central spindle is there, as well as the places between two discs is filled with another disc which is attached to the square rod. Basically, the only function of this is to provide resistance to the movement or flow of the oil which is having some impurities in it. Okay, so as the oil will flow through it, the impurities will be locked down at different places, and the filtered oil will get out from this location. So this is the simple basic working principle of this type of filter. Here we can see it consists of a number of discs in casing through which oil passes. These alternate discs, you can see alternate discs are there, are mounted over a central spindle, and the disc between the spindles are fixed to a separate square rod. Here you have a square rod. The clearance between the two discs is thousands of a centimeter. Now you can see thousands of a centimeter means 10 raised to the power minus 3 centimeter, means it is in microns. The distance between two discs. When the oil flows to this small clearance, it leaves the impurities on the disc peripheries. By operating the central spindle periodically, the impurities so collected on the disc are removed. So this is the working of your stack oil filter. One more oil filter is there. I would like to explain it first, and then I'll give you time to draw the figure. Now this is the last type of our oil filter, called as centrifugal type of oil filter. As the name is suggesting clearly, centrifugal force will be acting over here to filter out the impurities in the oil flow. Okay, so how it is working? There must be one inlet, there must be one outlet. Okay, so here you can see the oil is moving into this area, and then it is going to another what we can say this as a tube. This is a tube in which you can see some oil jets are there. Okay, however, if you will see the actual centrifugal filter, it is nothing like from inlet the oil is moving inside it, and since it is rotating at a very high speed, at a very high rpm, what happens, the impurities are having heavier than the oil particles, so it tries to go towards the periphery, and it will get accumulated on the circumference, we can say, or we can say the inner surface of your oil filter at the outer these surfaces. Okay, so this is happening due to your centrifugal force. So this is the working of your centrifugal oil filter. Now I would like to show you one video of it so that it will give you a clear picture of this. Yeah, can you see this screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay, now we will dismantle the filter.
Hello everyone,
and
it's the
we,
Motorcycle
and we will see how it is working.
Muse here, and I just wanted to do a quick video to explain how a centrifugal oil filter works in a motorcycle engine. So the centrifugal oil filter is this component here. I have removed the clutch cover.
In the previous class, we have seen about the pump that was mounted over here. In today's class, we are going to see about the filter that is attached over here.
So this is the clutch cover. I've just removed it from this particular engine. So I can see on the left-hand side, I have my clutch. I have the oil pump down here at the bottom, which I have is quite loose at the moment. And I have the centrifugal oil filter here. So the way the centrifugal oil filter works is essentially as when the engine is running, the piston is going up and down and it is driving the crankshaft, which is this component that runs through the center of the motorcycle. On this side through to here. And on the end of the crankshaft, we have our centrifugal oil filter. So it's just rotating on the end of the crankshaft. Now, as the oil is pumped around the motorcycle engine, it is actually pumped in through this little valve here. So it's pumped in through here from the actual clutch cover. So here we have our clutch cover, and it's this little component here, or this little outlet here on the clutch cover, from which the oil is received into the little hole in the valve here, and it flows into the centrifugal oil filter through that little valve. So the oil itself is pumped via the oil pump, which is down here. So the oil pump, again, I have it loose, but the pump will be driven also by this little driven gear. So you can see it moving here at the bottom. Hopefully you can just see that little bit of a movement. And that is this driven gear drives the oil pump, which pumps the oil through the recesses or the cavities in the case of the engine. So in this case here, we can see some holes, and these are holes where the oil is actually being pumped there through these holes. I suppose little reservoirs. And this is one of the recesses in the cavities, or the cavities in the clutch cover. So the oil is pumped in there. So you can possibly see that there is a little hole at the back inside there in the clutch cover. Don't know if you can see that exactly, but it leads down, it pumps the oil, it causes the oil to be pumped down here, flow down this little reservoir, and you can see that it comes up along here and it comes out through this little hole in the reservoir in the clutch cover. And when this clutch cover, you have to kind of imagine this, but when the clutch cover, just think about this little hole, when the clutch cover is actually placed in its normal seated area on the engine, that little hole corresponds with the hole on this little valve. So that's how the oil gets pumped into the centrifugal oil filter. It's called a centrifugal oil filter because as the oil comes in through this little valve, due to the rotation of the filter, so you have to imagine that it's rotating at very high speed, the oil gets, I suppose, flung to the outside of, this is the outside of the centrifugal oil filter. So this is all inside, so I'll open up the cover on this little centrifugal oil filter and you'll be able to see inside. But the oil gets flung against the end of the filter. So any heavy components in the oil will remain as a residue around the rim of the centrifugal oil filter. It will obviously fill up with oil, and because it fills up with oil, the oil will conglomerate or build up until it builds up in the middle of the centrifugal oil filter. So in the middle of the centrifugal oil filter, the oil is not spinning at high speeds and it's not experiencing the centrifugal force. And as a result, the oil in the middle of this, the heavy components in the oil are getting pushed out to the end due to centrifugal force, but the oil itself, which is lighter than the heavy components, will actually flow down through the middle of the oil filter and will then flow back into the engine of the motorcycle. So we'll have oil with dirt and bits in it flowing in through this little valve. The heavy bits of dirt, holes in it, and back into the motorcycle engine, where it can lubricate the engine itself, or the components of the engine. So let me just get a screwdriver here. So there's just 3 Phillips head screws on it. And I've already loosened them just to make it easier, but they will be screwed in quite tightly. They will be torqued down to a particular value. You need to be careful when you are removing these Phillips headed screws that you use a good quality screwdriver, because you don't want to strip the heads of these screws, because then you're just going to have the problem of trying to drill them out. Okay, so with the screws loose, I can just take the cap off the centrifugal oil filter. Okay, so in the cap, we can see the little valve. The valve is on a spring, so that's just side view. So the valve is on a spring, and you can see that it moves in and out. Okay, so the spring wants to push it out this way, but when you put the clutch cover on, the hole on the clutch cover will push on this, so it matches up perfectly. Okay, if you want to clean this little valve, you would just take off this little Ora clip here, and then you can just take the valve out properly. And if you notice on the other end of the valve, you don't see any hole on it. It looks like it has no hole. So you see a hole this side, but you cannot see through it. There is no hole this other side, but there is actually a hole on the side of this little valve here. So you might be able to just about see it here when I pop it out or pop it back in. You can just see where the Ora clip is. You can just about see a sort of a spacing in the valve. And the reason for that is that when the oil comes in through the valve, so the oil goes in through the valve, it hits this little plate, I suppose, and hitting that forces it to move in this direction. So it moves to the outwards direction, away from the center.
So as you can see here, you have some obstruction, and in the sideway there are holes. So when the oil is coming from the oil pump, it is moving in towards the circumferential direction, and it will be forced to go towards its what you can say inner rim of your this filter. Okay, so let's see what he is explaining.
And that helps then once it's moving in this direction. So it's moving in this direction. It then, due to centrifugal force, rotational force, I suppose you could call it, it gets scattered, or the heavy component gets scattered against the end in here. So the dirt and grime.
So this is the place where all impurities will be accumulated in your bike, if you have seen it. Okay. So at the periphery, you can say, or at the inner rim, those fine metallic parts will be accumulated over here.
Will build up in here around the edge of the center of the centrifugal oil filter. And you will have to periodically remove the clutch cover. You will have to periodically remove this little cover from the centrifugal oil filter, and you will have to scrape out the dirt. So you'll see a little buildup of gunge around the edge. Okay. And then the clean oil continues on its journey into the crankshaft here. And then we have clean oil feeding into the engine. Just lastly to note that there is a little gasket, which you can kind of see peeling off here. It's just a little oil gasket, I suppose. That will have to be replaced. So we'll need to have a new oil gasket to put onto this anytime you remove this, because the gasket is going to get damaged, as it has been in this case. There's a little bit of damage here when I removed it. So that will have to be replaced. They're very cheap, probably a couple of euro at most. So that should be, it's not an expensive job to maintain.
So that's the working of our centrifugal oil filter. Okay. I have tried to find out about that stack oil filter also, but for that I did not find any animated video for that. So basically this centrifugal oil filter, and the second one, that is your cartridge oil filter, is more commonly used. So that's about your oil filter. Okay. Now in our syllabus in unit 1, we have pollution standards, and a few more terms are there related to your engine servicing. So engine servicing related few terms are there that we will discuss in the next class, and all that pollution standard topics I will give you as an assignment. Okay, so by that our unit 1 will be over, and I hope you all are submitting your assignments. If still anybody is left, he is not in that Canvas list, so you send me your email address on my WhatsApp. I will add you. Okay, so that's all for today's class. Now again we will meet for the next class, that will be on coming Monday.